Music and Mass Media by Kelsey McNanny. These are two things that have grown to become an integral part of our everyday lives. Yet, in the beginning, it wasn't quite this way. Although music has always been synonymous with the human spirit, and humans have always found ways to express themselves through song, recently there's been an explosion of mass media using music. And over time, the face of music has slowly evolutionized from independent family songs to massively produced, commercialized music. While it may seem to be a modern phenomenon, the evolution of music can be traced all the way back to the 19th century, when the lax copyright laws that existed in the United States at the beginning of the century were strengthened, providing an opportunity for composers, singers, and publishers to work together to earn money by producing as much music as possible. Numerous publishers began to emerge to fulfill this growing demand for the now profitable music, especially in an area of New York that became known as Tin Pan Alley. The alley became filled with musicians, and the alley quickly earned its name Tin Pan Alley because the many pianos in the area sounded like banging on tin pans. Tin Pan Alley emerged quickly as a dominant force in the music scene, and with newly strengthened copyright laws under their belt, they were able to create mass-produced sheet music to meet the demands of a fastly growing middle class. The most popular genres of the time were opera and ragtime, and to meet these demands, Tin Pan Alley producers hired musicians to compose music based on public demand, thus introducing the concept of popular music as we know it today. The 1920s would mark legislation that was passed to strengthen copyright laws even more, and the invention of the radio would change the face of music forever and start to chip away at Tin Pan Alley's dominance over the music scene. It was Wen Ting Kong from Northeast Agricultural University Art College that said, "Science and technology are the primary productive forces." Through the history of evolution of music, we got to see these words by Professor Kong play out, as the technological advancement of the radio proved to be a very productive force indeed. The invention of the radio brought mass-produced music to a global front. And while still considered a luxury at the time, more and more people were being allowed to enjoy music in the comfort of their own homes. Yet, at the same time, this opened the door to even more music producers, labels, and publishers to capitalize on the quickly growing music scene. Along with the invention of the radio came the creation of electrical recordings, which allowed artists to directly record their sound and broadcast it on the radio to millions of possible listeners. No longer did musicians have to write sheet music and sell it. Now, thanks to these technological advancements, music began to explode into the mainstream. And one of the most popular genres of music of this time, with help from the easy access the radio and recordings now brought to the world, was blues and jazz, which quickly emerged as a fan frenzy across the United States, with recording artists such as Louis Armstrong, Fletcher Henderson, Tommy Dorsey, and Ella Fitzgerald all becoming featured artists whose songs would be heard on radios across the country. Following the wild success of blues and jazz in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, the music scene only grew bigger, and so did the technological advancements within it. And the jazz and blues that was so successful years prior served as a foundation for a new genre of music that would take the world by storm. Throughout the 40s into the 60s, technology progressed at a rapid rate. From the invention of reel-to-reel tape recorders, which paved the way for several innovations in the music industry, which would lead to the advent of rock and roll. And during this time, radio sales were well into the millions annually, making the music recording business a real industry, and have drastically skyrocketed every year since its invention. Music publishers started to take note. They were beginning to get more and more competitive in not only crafting music that audiences would flock to, but crafting images of artists that would sell more records. Artists such as Elvis Presley and the Beatles would change the scene of music as we know it. But behind each of these bands and artists lies a deeper goal from the publishers and producers who craft their music and their images. To ensure that they were receiving their fair cut of the royalties of this million-dollar industry that was being generated, new legislation was passed year after year to only continue to strengthen copyright laws, which made it harder and harder for people to listen to music without the publishers and producers getting paid. While this gave more opportunity to artists globally, it also catapulted a mass evolution of music into the commercial realm. And as the generations went on from the 1970s to the 80s and into the 1990s, music became more and more tailored to selling it and using that music in forms of media to make even more money, such as TV shows, movies, and commercials. Suddenly, music went from a realm of dancing and listening to it on the radio to its own industry almost entirely, where a song could be used in 5 different ways and make the producers 5 times the money as before. Suddenly, music producers began to see the true value in recording music, that being that it could be used in more ways than one. It can be used in movies and shows. As the advancement of technology got better and better, musicians, producers, and publishers were able to take music and implement it in the media better than ever before. This caused the evolution of music to happen fast. For the most part, it was largely positive, providing more music to more people around the globe. However, the impact it had through the media is undeniable. And now music and media are almost interchangeable, and it seems you cannot have one without the other. Now this has had other effects, such as Professor Wen-Ting Tong mentions, that in the process of broadcasting is not restricted by factors such as the location of the broadcast. In fact, the mode of broadcasting is relatively simple and ramble. And there are obvious differences compared with the internet. People are more free to obtain broadcasts and are not limited by factors such as time and place. This allows a continuous development of technology, and broadcasting serves as a function that is concentrated with the aspects of mobile phones and other devices. In 2021, as our technological advancements continue to grow in the scene of media and music, the promotion of music communication and mass media continues to grow with the internet as well. Thank you for listening. This has been my presentation on music and mass media by Kelsey McNanny. A special thank you to my resources for this video, from analysis of the influence of mass media on music from iopscience.iop.org, Music and Mass Media by Paul Creston from journals.sagepub.com, The Evolution of Pop Music at rcboe.org, The Effects of Musical Elements in Mass Media and Internet on the Social Development of Children and Adolescents by Cenk Silizin, files.eric.ed.gov, and finally, The Mass Media and Musical Cultural by Ivo Josipovic at jstor.org.